So greetings, this is Edo Jumbo, and a little bit unprepared here. So the article for today is one of the software licenses. So before we begin, quick reminder that I host a live stream every single day. You visit ojambo.com like you saw me today. I go to the watch menu, live sub menu, then you click on the current live stream. It shows the channel it's going to be on and the date and time, and then these are the post-dated topics for upcoming live streams. Also, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, leave comments for more frequent content. Thank you for subscribing. All right, so this is the first in several tutorials on licenses. So this is going to be mostly just for talking. My first YouTube talking video. So when I did this, actually I was going to create the most simple license, or I should say lack of license, and that is called public domain. So a public domain means that you can take that software and do anything you want with it. It might have maybe just one condition. That's usually it comes as is, meaning that if you mess up or whatever, you can't blame the original authors or the authors of the software. So I'll give you an example of software that is completely public domain, and that's SQLite. SQLite is a database, which I'll do a tutorial in the future. So if we go to SQLite, I think it's SQLite.org. You can see here, so if we go to the license for SQLite, you see it's public domain. That means that you can do anything you want now with the software. That's why, for example, it's a very popular software, and it's embedded in, for example, Android, iOS devices. It used to be actually embedded, or started to be embedded in web browsers, but I think Mozilla complained about some quirks with it. But anyways, the point is it's completely a public domain, meaning that you see anybody is free to copy, modify, public, use, compile, sell, distribute the original SQLite code, either in the source code form or compile binary for any purpose, commercial, non-commercial, and by any means. So this means, like, for example, I could compile this and sell it, or just take the source code and sell it. You know, I'm able to do that. There's no you know, I'll be responsible for it. So for example, here they do tell you that even though it's public domain, what they do themselves is it's open source but not open contribution. So they explain why they do this is that they do not want contributions, because some of those contributions might contain maybe some contaminated code or anything like that. I'm just paraphrasing. So you can explain why they don't allow contributions. And if you do contribute, they'll basically rework your code. That way, then they can make it a public domain. And also here they do say there's warranty because it's public domain. It doesn't require a license. So that's and then even though some organizations still want legal proof for the right to use SQLite, this is what they claim here. See, there's indemnity and jurisdictions and all of that. So there we go. Anyway, so with that out of the way, let's go back to the topic of this tutorial. It's a little bit off topic. So today, I said it's about the MIT software license. So the MIT software license, that stands for Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And you see this, it was created by the Computer Systems Research, the CRS group of MIT Laboratory for Computer Science. That's a pretty long name. And they did this in 1988. Now, I took 1988 because sometimes it says in the early 80s. So they started designing this earlier, but I'm talking about when it was actually complete. That means I could actually use it. So it's 1988. 1988. Okay, so why did they come up with this license? The reason they came up with this license is because they wanted to create a simple and permissive license that could encourage collaboration and widespread adoption. So around, let's say in the early 80s, the dominant workstations and computers were usually Unix based, so all of them were proprietary. So even though back then you could get software, it was still proprietary. So you could tweak it, whatever, it was proprietary. So they might have put some restrictions. The owners could put restrictions on that software and what you can do and how you can use it. So so that's why this team came up with this license, so people could permissive just means you can do things with it without any for example, you can take it, put it in another code, tweak it. I'll give you an example. So I remember I said the dominant type of system was Unix based. So when personal computers became popular, some people might have not take that code and then maybe tweak it to work on like the x86 type computers or other computers. So this MIT license would allow you to do that. Now, of course, there's also public domain, but let's be honest, most of the companies that make proprietary software, they're not going to put stuff in the public domain. Let's be serious about that. So this license, it empowers developers to use, modify, distribute software with few restrictions. The permissive license allows for the inclusion of software in proprietary projects. So for example, if you have a proprietary project and you want to take a code snippet and you want to put it in there, this will allow you to do that. So for example, you saw the SQLite. So if I was making a SQLite is public domain, but I'm just saying that I would obviously be able to do that. So this one would also allow me to do that. Now, the only difference between this and a public domain is that you see this one, it does have a clause. And there's two things in that clause. The first one is that the license must be provided. And the other one is that the copyright notice is also included. So those are the two clauses. That's basically the only thing that you need to do for the MIT license. So for example, if you take any software, and I'll show you some software that has the MIT license, you will need to include the MIT license and the copyright notice, then you can use it in your own project. Okay, so you're going to notice that some of the most popular, I guess, software not conservatories, but software license, organizations this will come up over and over again when we do this, except obviously for public domain. So there's one called SPDX, and that stands for Software Package Data Exchange. It's an open standard capable of representing systems with digital components as bills of materials, BOMs. So what this means is that it's for example, if you come up with your own software license, I would recommend you use one of these organizations. So because they could help you legitimize it. For example, resources, especially when you start out, you might not have lawyers and all that kind of stuff. So these organizations, I don't know if there's a fee. Maybe that's why you might want to use it. Another one is called OSI, and that one stands for Open Source Initiative. So obviously right there, this one is only for open source software licenses. It approves certain licenses as compatible with the definition and maintains a list of compliant licenses. So we'll come back to this one in a second. And then there's another one called the GNU. That's the general public license. Those type of licenses, they ensure users freedoms to run, study, share, and modify the software. Now, there's others, like you might hear about the Debian software contract and other stuff like that, but these are the main ones because obviously, for example, if you use Windows, all Apple, Mac OS, Microsoft Windows, you probably wouldn't care about something that's usually based on Linux or whatever. So I'm saying those are proprietary systems. So I'm saying that's why I didn't put the others in here. Okay, so there are three basically types of MIT licenses. So these are the ones you're going to probably see all the time. The first one is just the general MIT license. This is like the original one, and that's a permissive software license. And you see this is what I see here. There's a SPDX identifier. That's MIT. So for example, I didn't put GNU because GNU has its own license, and OSI just tells if it's approved for, if it's an open source license or not. Clearly, this one is. And the projects that do use this license are, for example, Node.js, jQuery, and React. They do use the original MIT license. Now, there's another license called the MIT/X Consortium license, and this one is literally basically exactly the same as the original MIT license, except it's only used by one project, and that's the X11 or X window system, and this identifies X11, and it's also permissive software license. So you might be wondering, why did people come up with this one when it's literally almost exactly the same as this one? Well, the reason is that this license here, although it's permissive and you can do whatever you want, the problem was that with this license, they wanted it to be able to use in other projects, for example, like the GNU project, which is a copyleft. So that's why this license came up with, because the way the GNU GPL license works is that when you do code in it, all the code must be, must also be under the same license. So that's why this license came up. So it's an exception. So this will allow you to use this license. And then there's another one, which is called the MIT No Attribution license. So it's exactly the same as the other one, except that it's more of a public domain equivalent. So what that means is that if you remember, for the MIT license, the clauses are that you must provide the license and you must have the copyright notice included, right? So if you want to make it, the license that way, because I said, remember, you see the problem even SQLite has, even though their software is public domain. You see some people still want to say, hey, I want proof I can use this in my software, because public domain, you do whatever you want. So that's why a license like this exists, the MIT No Attribution license. It's a public domain equivalent. That basically means that it's an actual license. Remember, public domain is not a license. So this one is an actual license, but equivalent to a public domain. So an example project is reactive systems. So now here is MIT license sample. I'm going to use the original MIT license because it's pretty short. You actually like it. So as you can see here, remember we need the copyright. So if you want to use this license, so what you do is you copyright. For example, the current time of this recording of this video is 2025. So you put the copyright, you put the year, and then you put your name or the organization that is authoring or creating the project. And then you see here, so you say permission is hereby granted free of charge to any person obtaining a copy of this software and associated documentation files, the software, to deal the software without restriction, including without limitation, the rights to use, copy, modify, merge, publish, distribute, sublicense, and all sell copies of the software, and to permit persons to whom the software is furnished to do so subject to the following conditions. Remember, I told you there's two clauses. So the first clause is the copyright notice, and this permission shall be included in all copies of substantial portions of the software. So you see the difference between this now and the public domain license. A public domain license, obviously there's no license, so you don't have to do this. You do whatever you want. And the other thing is, similar to the public domain license, is the software is provided as is, without warranty of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to the warranties of merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, and non-infringement. In any event, shall the authors or copyright holders be liable for any claim, damages, or other liability, whether in an action of contract, tort, or otherwise, arising from out or all in connection with the software or the use or dealings in the software. So why do they put this here? If you remember, when we go back to the SQLite, some companies need a license to see what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to do. So this one, it says as is. So you do whatever you want. So that's basically like a public domain as well. So unfortunately, they had to put this type of language in here because just to let you know what your rights are. So you do whatever you want, basically. Now, I want to explain why this is here. I'll give you an example. It's actually a pretty recent example. I think less than a month ago. There's a client website. I didn't create the website originally. They hired somebody else, and that person took fonts, or the company, they took fonts and embedded the fonts. So these are proprietary fonts. So the company that the copyright holder of those fonts contacted the client and said, hey, we noticed you're using our fonts, but you don't have a license. So you have to pay a license. Contact us for license terms and conditions for make payment. So when I got involved, they were saying, we don't use that font. So I checked, and that font was actually being used on the website. It's in the body. You know, when you do in the body, it says font family. It was actually being used there. And I noticed it was actually embedded. And I also noticed there was actually another font which was not actually being used. It was also embedded. So those two fonts were actually by the same copyright or whatever, the owner. So I was asked for solutions. So obviously, the easiest one is for them to pay the license fee for the fonts. The other one was to replace them. The problem with replacing them is, at least these days, open source fonts are pretty good, the free fonts. But back in the day, they were not as good. So I found some equivalent fonts, and I was able to replace them. And I also checked. They also had newsletters. The newsletters were they were not using the proprietary fonts, but the proprietary fonts had been embedded. So I removed those as well, and the site still looks pretty nice. Actually, I can show you the site here. It's called Worry Free. It's a long name. Retirement.com. So this is the site here. So there's a slight little change, but what I had to do is when I replaced the font, I had to resize some of the replacement fonts because of the kerning, just slightly, and the site still looks pretty good without, you probably won't even notice the fonts. So for this site, what I did was, when I got involved, was that I just had to tweak a few things. Like I created all this here. It's simple PHP. And I also, if we go to where it says view PDF, oops, not that one there. I actually created this as well. But the one I actually did was, if we actually go to, I have to keep on going to PDF. I want to go where it goes to PDF. Yeah, this one here. Oh, okay. So there was a feature where you could see the different strategy updates. Is it up here somewhere? Yeah, I created that page as well. It's a little page where you have you pick up. Yeah, it's not here. Okay. Yeah, there was a little thing where you could see the past. For example, if you wanted to see the past market snapshots, you could go to that one. There used to be a direct link. It looks like, is it this one? Read more news? No, it's not there. Yeah, there used to be a specific one there, and I created that page as well. And I tidied up. The CSS was really hard, but I tidied up the CSS and made it look pretty. And obviously, the usual upgrade PHP as well. So that's what I did here. I didn't come up with this design. I just helped make things pretty as well. Okay. So the permissions, obviously, as you saw, you have commercial use, you can distribute it, you can modify, and private use. Absolutely. The conditions, as I said before, it's only for the license, and the copyright notice must be included. So basically this file and however you put it. The limitations are that there's no liability and there's no warranty. And there's MIT license and MIT license sample, which is this one here. And then obviously this is the live video you're watching, the live stream. If you don't want to go to, as I was saying here, each of those articles there's a snippet here which tells you where the stream will be. The date's going to be, the time, it's always going to be Eastern time. You're free to ask any questions, programming related. Obviously, this is software, so it's clearly programming related topic. And you click here to go and log in, and then you can ask questions or do any requests. This is the live video, so if I play this now, where the stream will be, you can see it's live right after recording this right now. Okay, so so if you notice, this is why I always put things like this. I tell you what type of license I used for the software I'm using. So in this particular case, it's MIT license. It's an open source license. It's a permissive license and has conditions requiring the preservation of copyright and license notices. It allows commercial use, modification, distribution, and making derivatives proprietary. Consult the license for more specific details. This one you really don't need. The only details you need to know is the clauses for, the provided as is, if you're looking for that. So now, should you use this license? Again, it's up to you. The other licenses, and we'll go through that in future tutorials. This one is it's free and it's an open source license. As you saw, it's designed to empower developers to use, modify, and distribute software with few restrictions. Now, before we finish this, I promised I will show you an MIT license. So the easiest way to do that is, remember, it's Node.js is one of them. So Node.js. So Node.js here, if we go here, and it will tell us what type of license. There's a trademark. Trademarks are not licenses. Privacy policy, version support, code of conduct, security. Where is the license about? Might have to search for it. I know it will probably be on GitHub, so maybe let's try here. I'll type license. Oh, shoot. It actually said get license. Oh, I'm surprised it's not here. Okay, let's see. Let's see, live. Oh, this is AI. Oh no, I was wasting my time. So let's actually go to the GitHub page. And in the GitHub page here, it says contributing. I want to go to where the code is. And normally you should see a license. A license. So you see here, it says Node.js is licensed for use as follows, copyright, permission, free of charge as is. So this is the license applies to parts of Node.js originating from the joint node file. So the joint node file also has this license. And yeah, see, here we go. So it started as an MIT license. You see here? So you see here, this is also an MIT license. So the reason they have to keep it is, remember I told you, you always have to keep a copy of it. Now, because they're using the Joyland, they have kept the MIT license and before it looks like there's also some Apache licenses as well, which are permissive and the same thing. So there you go. So they have different licenses because they use, I guess, different libraries. There you go. So is there another example of another project that uses jQuery is another one. So let's go check out jQuery. That one should be more simple. And jQuery should also be, let's check up here. Contributing. They want you to sign a contributor, what do you call it? What do you call contributor license agreement? So it's open source. Let's click on open source. Why are they hiding the license? Most software just show the license. I can't even read this down here. Oh, here we go. There's a jQuery license. So here's the jQuery. It says released under the terms of the MIT license. So there you go. And the websites, that's not interesting. So yeah, so you go. It's an MIT license. There we go. So And there's also different, I said there's different other types of MIT licenses. Some of the software I've used, you will see they will use like the either no attribution or there's some type of, this one is rarely used, but yeah, usually it's a variation of the MIT license. So you can make up your own license as you saw here today. Okay, now with that out of the way, a quick reminder that I do a live stream every day. Visit ojambo.com. You go to the watch menu live. You can see this current live stream and the channel it's on and the date and time and the future post-dated topics for future live streams. Be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. And if you enjoy this, consider supporting me. You can purchase one of my WordPress plugins at ojambo.com. You can enroll in my programming courses at ojamboshop.com. You can buy my programming books on Amazon. Search for Edward Ojambo, links in the description. And you can also hire me for your programming and app development needs at ojamboservices.com. And you can also become a donor at ojambo.com/donate. The donate button is also up here in the header. Okay, I don't see any chat requests, so I'm going to end this. I hope you enjoyed this, and see you in the next one. Thank you.